It's time for the Coach Groves Show, where we sit down with the head coach of the Darlington Tigers football team and talk about all things Darlington School football. Now we go live to Matt Davis and Ian Griffin, who are standing by with Coach Wayne Groves.
Well, actually today, no Ian Griffin, but you do have Matt Davis and Coach Groves, and we are ready to rock and roll for the 2024 season. It's hard to believe it's here, Coach. It gets here quick every year. But here we are. The Tigers are kicking off this Friday. How you doing today?
Shoot, I'm good. Just finished practice just off the field about 20 minutes ago and sprinting over here and ready to talk a little Darlington Tigers football, week one.
No doubt about it, man. And we appreciate you joining us today. Always a pleasure to get the opportunity to catch up with you and talk some football, and that's exactly what we're here to do. So let's go ahead and jump into our questions here. I feel bad, but I forgot to bring this up when we did our preseason interview and our coaches preview show, but we didn't talk about your coaching staff. So I apologize that I didn't bring that up. So I thought, what better place to start our show this year than talking about your coaching staff, because I know you've got some familiar names back, but at the same time, Coach, you got a couple of new names that I saw on the roster that people are familiar with that haven't been a part of the program, which I know you're really excited about. Got a great coaching staff. Let's go ahead and talk about that right out of the gate.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the staff. In the offseason, the administration at Darlington made a commitment to add some coaches and getting us up to where we need to be. We're still a small staff, but I think, quality over quantity is a better way to go about it, and that's what we've done. So, familiar name is Mark Loudermilk. Coach Loudermilk was our offensive line coach and assistant head coach last year, and then worked in the strength and conditioning department. Since then, Coach Loudermilk, we've promoted him to the offensive coordinator. And so he's running the offense. He's still coaching the offensive line. He's still assistant head coach. But to have a guy like him, he's a 38-year veteran of coaching high school football. He's been in championship programs all over the state. He's been at Peach County. He's been at Thomasville High School. He's been at Carrollton. He was with me at Valdosta. And then, of course, we brought him here last year after he retired from public school to coach at Darlington. So he's going to run the offense. Coach Bryant Powers is still with us. He's coaching the quarterbacks this year. And y'all know Bryant probably, if you follow Northwest Georgia football, his daddy, Gordon, again, a 40-year head coaching veteran in Kentucky and then here. So Bryant Powers is working with the quarterbacks and doing a really good job. Alex Abels is still with us, coaching wide receivers. Alex is another young, phenomenal coach. He does a great job. He's detail-oriented, and he's finishing up at West Georgia this year. And so he's a community coach, but he's been at Darlington for, I think this is his 6th year at Darlington. And then he played for me at Rome too. And so to be able to have a guy that can handle that position is really top notch. The next guy we'll go over on defense, really, Nehemiah Reddish. He's going to coach some outside linebackers, but Nehemiah is also coaching running backs on offense. Nehemiah played for me at Rome on the 2016 state championship team, and then he went on to play at Shorter and became Shorter's second leading all-time tackler there. But if you know Nehemiah, he's a real special guy. He's been an ordained minister since he was 17 years old, and he's pastoring a church in Cartersville now. So we've hired Nehemiah to work in the strength conditioning department at Darlington. And if you've ever seen Nehemiah, he is what a strength conditioning coach looks like. I mean, he is put together. He's definitely hit the weights while he's with me at Rome, but obviously since he's graduated and went off to college and graduated in college. But he brings a lot of energy and excitement and just another good character guy to be around.
I've recently learned from one of his former basketball coaches that he's into boxing as well.
Yeah, so he's doing a little boxing in his spare time, which he don't have a lot of spare time now because I've been working on pretty good. But he's taking up boxing. He still lifts his weights and he's going to work in the strength conditioning department and still pastor a church on Sundays. So
wow.
So he's definitely a unique individual and I love Nehemiah to death. Next, I got another former player that we hired, Jamarcus Chapman, who graduated at Rome in 2018. So he was on both our 2016 to 17 state championships at Rome and played defensive line. He signed at Florida State and played a year there and then transferred to Troy and finished his last 4, maybe 5 years out at Troy play in D-line. So he just recently graduated, and we've hired him in the Student Life Center. He's going to do some middle school fitness and strength conditioning classes. He's going to do some outreach work in the Student Life Center, and so we're really excited to have Jamarcus on our staff. And then last would be Coach Patrick Collier. And Coach Collier is our veteran alumni coach, has been at Darlington the longest. He coaches DBs. He's also our special teams coordinator. Coach Collier's from Rome. Again, we said he played at Darlington and played at Auburn, and he's a top-notch coach, and he gets the best out of his kids every day.
Wow, when you run down that list and all the different levels of experience that you have with this great coaching staff, all I can think is if your kids go to Darlington and play for Coach Groves and his staff, boy, they're going to learn a lot about football. There's no question about that. Yep. Great staff.
Yep.
And one of the things I was curious about, you mentioned obviously Nehemiah and then also Jamarcus Chapman joining the staff. When you've got guys that, recently played college football, obviously these kids that are on the team, they know these names. And so I would imagine as soon as those guys walked out there, because of, their size and how fit they are and things of that nature, but also their reputation as players, they probably had the kids' attention right away, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and that's important. It's important to, if you're going to coach, you better look the part. That's part of winning the kids over and getting them to trust you and getting them to play hard for you is some of that stuff. And so they're doing a really good job.
We've got Coach Groves with us because this is the Coach Groves Show. As you can see here, we're getting ready to kick off the season coming up. We got some comments already coming up on our Facebook Live feed, which we'll get to here in just a couple of moments. But this is year 2 for you as head coach for the Darlington Tigers. What were the biggest things that you feel like you learned last year that you feel you've been able to apply getting ready for this new season? I know that you've been coaching for a long time, but being a head coach is obviously a different experience.
Yeah.
So what were the biggest lessons that you felt like you take from last year into this season, Coach?
Well, one of the things that I did, and I think it's helped me more than anything, is just getting a year-long organizational plan and really specific to Darlington. So what I did last year is every time something would come up, I would write it down in my notes and write it down in my log, my coaching log that I have. And so basically what I got after that is a year-long plan. This month we're doing this. Players are doing this. Assistant coaches are doing this. Head coach, I'm doing this. Once we get into the season, each week, this is my Monday to-do list, Tuesday to-do list, Wednesday. So I'm huge on to-do list, organizations, and just coming up with a year-long plan. So after being here a full year, I know exactly what we need to do during each time of the year. And so it just helps us be organized, to be as efficient as possible, and to get the most out of the kids in the long run. So having a full year underneath my belt as a head coach and being able to plan everything out, and now going into year 2, just going straight to the plan, and this is what we're doing, bam, 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 this time of the year, this is what we're doing, bam, 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 this time of the year. It just helped us be better and more organized.
Well, Coach, I'm going to go ahead and just start diving in and looking at the roster for 2024. I've had a look at it. You sent it to me earlier in the week. Many familiar names back for this season. Who are some of the veteran guys that you're looking to this year for leadership to help the team succeed throughout the season?
Well, even though we're a small roster size, we still have a lot of guys that played a lot of football for us back. So there are a lot of veteran guys. And so, I'm going to look for guys, obviously Sammy Konchesky at quarterback and at strong safety, Miles Twyman at running back and playing corner and DB, Noah Duggan, he's going to play some running back. He's going to play Mike linebacker. Sam Twinney, going to start at will linebacker, and he's going to play some tackle on offense. Stephen Moore playing O-line and D-line. Trenton Moore is going to play tight end and play outside linebacker. And then, Henry Ledbetter, all-region defensive end, he's back. He's playing defensive end again. Evan Parton's back, and then Jaron Payne's back on the defensive line. So we feel like we got a good, solid foundation of good returning kids, and obviously, they got to play better than they did last year. We're bigger, we're faster, we're stronger because we've invested in the weight room and speed and agility training in the offseason. And so now it's time to reap the reward.
And Coach, in sticking with our conversation about personnel here for this year's team, there are guys that were on the team last year that maybe didn't get as much playing time as a lot of the veteran players and things of that nature, but they did get some snaps here and there. And I would imagine since, you had some guys that graduated and moved on, that happens every year, that you're going to have some guys that saw limited playing time last year get more meaningful snaps this year. So who are some of the guys that come to mind when you think about that aspect?
A few guys. One that's going to stand out is going to be Jace Donaldson. Jace was kind of a JV star last year and got some spot playing time on the varsity. But he's in a starting role right now. He's playing some slot, playing some running back, and playing some corner. So he's going to be one that's going to stand out. He had a really good scrimmage game. Bodie Powers is another one. Bodie's going to play some running back, and he's playing some safety. He made a lot of plays on special teams last year, and it was a big-time contributor in that aspect. But he's stepping into a starting role, and so Bodie's going to be one that needs to have a great year. Stuart Grigsby's another young kid. He'll be a sophomore. He's a safety and a running back. Plays a little slot receiver as well. And then Brooke Temple is one who I think Brooke had about 7 interceptions last year on JV, and then we started getting him into some special teams on varsity. But Brooke had a great offseason. He won the 200-meter region in the track, and he was a part of our state championship track team. I think he ran a 22-1 200. So Brooke is going to play some corner, and he's going to play some running back and some receiver as well. So those are some guys that were kind of, in the limited roles last year. They're stepping into some bigger shoes to fill.
Now, as far as guys that, really didn't see any playing time last year, some new faces that the casual fan maybe don't know the names. I know the families do and things of that nature, but who are some of the guys that we haven't heard their name called yet that you think we'll see some this year, Coach? All
right, so we got Bryson Jones back out. Now, Bryson played football his freshman year. He kind of focused a little bit on lacrosse last year, but we got him back out there. He's going to play O-line and D-line, and Bryson is he's a little short, stocky, powerful guy. I mean, I think during our Super Tiger test, he benched 335, squatted near 400, and so he's going to be a guy that's going to stand out, and he wears number 55, so you can look for him on Friday. Ty Wood is another kid that had a great offseason. He's going to play some linebacker, and he's going to play a little bit of offensive line, so he's stepping into definitely a bigger role this year. And then I got a couple of freshmen, Lane Brasington, who's going to play some offensive line, and then Zayden Simpson, who's a good-looking freshman that plays corner and plays wide out. And then we got a big D lineman and a tight end that's came to Darlington. His name's Will Scholl, and Big Will's about 6'5". He's about 240 pounds. So he may be a guy that's going to definitely step in and make an impact pretty quickly.
Man, really enjoying hearing about the kids on this year's team and your coaching staff. We do need to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about something that you just referenced a couple of moments ago. I'm not super familiar with it, and that is the Super Tiger testing. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back. But we're hanging out with Coach Groves. This is the first edition of the 2024 season of the Coach Groves Show, and we'll be back for more after these messages.
Riverside Auto Group is celebrating 50 years in Rome and Northwest Georgia. Join the celebration and shop for your next car, truck, or SUV from Riverside Auto Group. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
All right, we welcome you back to the Coach Groves Show, our first edition of the 2024 season. The season gets cranked up coming up this Friday. We do want to go to a couple of comments before we jump back into our conversation from our Facebook Live. My mom has chimed in, and she said that she's watching from the Rome Emperors game. So she's got her phone out. She's watching minor league baseball.
That's awesome.
Getting some football, some baseball at the same time. She's fired up. And she said, go Tigers, go Emperors. So thanks for chiming in, Mom. Lou Essick has chimed in as well, and I think he's probably the biggest supporter of all the programming at WLAQ. It seems like he's watching all the time. We appreciate you, Lou. He wanted to make sure he said hey to my mom. So they're getting a little conversation amongst themselves here. And then Kelly Fountain chimed in, and I tell you what, man, I think this is going to come up a lot. But back last season for Halloween, we did a feature, and we talked about your daughter, Grayson, had a picture of her from Halloween. We also had a picture that had some Halloween costumes for Coach Groves, and then myself and Ian. And Coach Groves was John Rambo, so he put in there something about that. But anyway, you got to be careful what you put on the internet, man, because it's everywhere.
That's right.
all the time.
Everybody's out there.
In perpetuity. So we'll just go ahead and jump back into our conversation. Before we took the break, we referenced Super Tiger testing. You referenced that in our first segment. So what is that, and what do the results of that look like this year, Coach?
Okay, so the Super Tiger test is basically how we try to end the summer right before we go full pads. And so it's a competition we do amongst the team. It is a 9 event competition, which includes bench press max, squat max, power clean max, 40-yard dash time, 10-yard dash time, broad jump, 20-yard pro shuttle, L drill, and then we finish up the last day with a 1.5 mile run. So the kids, how good they score, the better the score, the more points they get for each event. And so then at the end of it, we add all the points up and we see who the best scores are and find out who the best athletes on the team are. Is basically how we do that. So it's a good way to end the summer. It's a good way for the kids to see, how strong they've gotten through the strength and conditioning program and what their speeds got to. And then, anytime we can find a way to compete, that's always great to do too. And then we finish that up the next week. We do a big barbecue, lunch, picture day, and then I do summer awards. And so the kids that perform the best, we do top 10 awards, we do class champion awards, we get an overall award, and then I give awards for most improved from the previous year, and then they'll get awards for perfect attendance during summer. So we had a great barbecue kickoff 2 weeks ago, and so now we're getting ready for the season. But I'd like to talk about some of the top performers on the Super Tiger, because I think that's pretty good. So, one, I want to recognize the Champions Club. These are guys that were perfect attendance. And, we have great attendance during the summer, but I had 17 guys that didn't miss a day for any reason. And then I'm very flexible, too, when it comes to summer. If a kid wrestles or plays baseball and maybe the last day of the week is, Coach, I want to do a tournament or I want to go play baseball, as long as they communicate that, that's perfectly fine. We're perfectly supportive. The basketball team left for a couple of days to do a team camp, and we totally support that. We want the kids to be involved in everything at Darlington. We don't ever want to make them choose to play one sport or the other. And so we did have 17 kids that got perfect attendance. So we had freshmen Lane Brasington, Tristan Leeser, Davis Pewitt, sophomores Caleb Covington, Grady Ferguson, Nate Konchesky, Colton Moman, Bodie Powers, Preston Wilson, Ty Wood, juniors Jace Donaldson, Max New, Miles Twyman, and seniors Noah Duggan, Trenton Moore, Jaron Payne, and Sam 20. So all those guys got Champions Club. So anytime we give out equipment, they get their stuff first. Anytime we eat, they get their stuff first. We have a locker room pride detail where we make sure the locker room's swept every day and the bathrooms are cleaned. The guys that are perfect attendance, they're excused from that. So there's some rewards in the program for being Champions Club. And so we want to honor those guys that had that great commitment during the summer. So that's that. Okay. And then we get into Super Tiger. So Super Tiger, after it was all calculated up, our top 10, 10th place with 144 points was Henry Ledbetter. Jace Donaldson was 9th place. Ty Wood was 8th place. Stuart Grigsby was 7th place. Trenton Moore was 6th place. Sam 20 was 5th place. Brooke Temple was 4th. Noah Duggan was 3rd. Sammy Konchesky was 2nd, and Sammy won it last year. And this year, Miles Twyman was our Super Tiger. He scored 185 points and had a really good week of competition.
That's fantastic. And I have to ask you this, Coach. Did anybody challenge Coach Groves in this competition? Did you get out there with him?
My knees and my back and my copay is not good enough to participate in Super Tiger anymore. But it is good to watch the boys compete and really get out there and push themselves. And it was a really good competition. And we had some guys that performed really well, like Bryson Jones that bench pressed about 335 pounds. Sam 20 was about the same, about 335 pounds. We had some guys that really ran well. Brooke Temple ran a 4.50 40. Miles Twyman was a 4.47 40-yard dash. Jace Donaldson is around the 4.5 area too. And so we were really pleased on how the kids competed.
This is the first edition of the Coach Groves Show for 2024. We're going to talk about the scrimmage that you had at Mount Perrin in just a couple of moments, but I feel like this segues into my next question. Last year we had a segment that was the Getting to Know Coach Groves segment, and I had a lot of comments from people on that. They really enjoy getting to know you better. So like when we'd be on the road and things of that sort where they may not have a press box, people would recognize us from the videos and they'd come up to us. And that was the thing that I think we got the most comments on last year was that, because they really did enjoy getting to know you. But what you were talking about with the Super Tiger testing, it made me think about something that just took place that a lot of people were paying attention to, and that was the Summer Olympics. I probably watched more Summer Olympics this year than I have in a long time. Well, at least 4 years, Well, no, 3 years, because they did it in 2021 because of the COVID situation, but I'm just kidding about that. But as far as the Olympics, is that something that you paid any attention to? Do you have any favorite events and things of that sort?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't. It's tough to watch, everything, but I always try to watch the basketball. Ever since the Dream Team, you always want to watch the Olympic basketball team. So obviously they had a great Olympics and won the gold. So I watched that. I watched the weightlifting. I love to watch the clean and jerks and the Olympic weightlifting and the snatches and so the girl Olivia Reeves that won the gold. She snatched 257 pounds and she cleaned and jerked 330 pounds. And, that's pretty impressive. I mean, it is just unbelievable, world class to see a female athlete do that. And then obviously the track and field, see Noah Lyles win the 100. And then, the couple of the girls that did really well, Sha'Carri Richardson and Melissa Jefferson that finished, silver and bronze. I always like to watch the track just for the, the weightlifting, the track, and just for the speed and strength that I'm always been passionate about, and then obviously the basketball just because they're such high level competing and getting after it there. So
no doubt,
those are my favorites.
I'm with you on that. The basketball, of course, the gold medal game against France. I watched that entire game because it was on a Saturday afternoon and at a time I could watch it. And the level of competition in that game was tremendous. Obviously, you had some big threes from Steph Curry at the end of the game, kind of pulled away, but the score didn't indicate how close that game was, going down under 3 minutes to go. And just a super entertaining game to watch the NBA guys out there and playing something bigger, for something bigger than themselves. It's just a different level of competition. So I really enjoyed that also. One last question about the Olympics, and we'll move back into Darlington football. What did you think about the commentary and Snoop Dogg's role in that? As somebody that grew up in the era when he really became popular,
I think it's pretty cool that those guys get involved and support the Olympics and the Olympic teams like that. It's just great. It just brings more exposure to the sports and more exposure to the games. So I think it's great.
I enjoyed it too, man. And it was a nice segue because obviously the next Olympic Games are going to be in Los Angeles. So there was a tie-in with that at the end of it and everything too. But good stuff. Well, let's move back into Darlington football. You guys had a scrimmage a couple of weeks ago with Mount Perrin. I believe it was a pretty close game. But what were your big takeaways from that scrimmage, which was really the last tune-up against another team before you get into the regular season?
Yeah. Well, we ended up winning the scrimmage 21-13. And so anytime you can go out and really put on, after really we had 3 days of full pad practice and then go into the scrimmage, it's a measuring stick to see where you are. And so to be able to go in, to be able to gain some momentum and show that, hey, if we play like we're supposed to play and we execute, that good things are going to happen. And so I think the kids got some confidence in that game. Mount Perrin's got about 70 players, and they probably got 15 guys over 225, and so our smaller, quicker Tigers went in there, and we just really outplayed them. We played hard and we executed. Some things that come out of it. Obviously, I don't like seeing the ball on the ground. We fumbled the ball 3 times during that game, and so points of emphasis for next week to work on, or for this week to work on. But I was really pleased to get out there, hit somebody. I thought we played physical. I thought we played hard, and I thought we played together pretty much most part of the night. So I was really pleased on the outcome of that, and it definitely gave us some things to work on moving forward.
All right, Coach, we are going to take a break here in just a couple of moments because in our next segment, we're going to shift gears because obviously getting ready to start the regular season. So the final questions that I have all have to do with the Mount Vernon Mustangs who come calling to Chris Hunter Stadium Friday evening. So looking forward to talking about that in our next segment. Is there anything else left that you'd like to talk about the scrimmage or summer or anything like that before we jump into the opponent?
No, let's just go in and talk about Mount Vernon and get ready for Friday night.
We'll take one more break. We'll come back and do just that. This is the Coach Grove Show. We'll be right back here in just a couple of moments. We're glad that you're with us.
Riverside Auto Group is celebrating 50 years in Rome and Northwest Georgia. Join the celebration and shop for your next car, truck, or SUV from Riverside Auto Group. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
All right, we welcome you back to the Coach Grove Show, our first edition here for the 2024 season, which kicks off against Mount Vernon, the Mustangs. And this is the first meeting in the series between Darlington and Mount Vernon. So I first want to know, how did this matchup end up on your radar and on the schedule for this season, Coach?
Well, in the off season, this is a changing, schedule cycle. So, there's, you just got to start calling around and trying to find ball games non-region. And so we had 6 region games. So that meant I had to pick up 4 non-region games. And so bounced around, had called, and had actually called Mount Vernon at one point, and they had said no, they were full. And then a few weeks later, they had someone back out in week 1, which we needed it, and so we made it work.
Gotcha, man. And as far as this team, obviously their head coach, you were talking about when you came in, he's a familiar name for Georgia Bulldogs fan. Tell us about their coach.
Yeah, so this first-year head coach for them, Terrence Edwards. Me and Coach Edwards actually have a little bit of history in 1997 when the Pepperell Dragons played in the Dome. They played against Washington County, and Washington County, obviously, if you kept up with that, they beat us in 1997. And Terrence Edwards was the quarterback.
Wow.
So don't think there's not a little extra motivation this week as we prepared. Maybe, kind of even the score a little bit. But, Terrence is known as a good football coach in the state of Georgia. He's the offensive coordinator for Mount Vernon, and he's put together a pretty good staff, and they've got a good football team.
Well, let's talk a little bit about these guys. Last year, behind a really productive offense, I noticed they scored a lot of points last year. They went 8-4. Second round playoff appearance. One of the teams they defeated was Pepperell, and that was a pretty lopsided score by the end of the game. So what can you tell us about the scouting report on this Mustangs team?
All right, so on offense, they're a spread team. They're going to be in shotgun 100% of the time of what I've seen so far. Their number one running play, they're going to run power. They're going to run split zone. They're going to run inside zone. They're going to run outside zone. So they're a little bit of gap, but mostly zone team. They're going to be a spread passing concepts. They love, curl routes. They love curl wheels. They're really good at screen game and trying to get the ball out quick to their athletes. A few guys that may stand out on the offensive side, quarterback number 1, Brian DeRocher, and all these guys are seniors. I'm about to tell you, he's 5'11", 175 pounds. Their running back, which I think kind of makes their offense go, is number 0, Walker Warshaw. He's about 5'8", 160 pounds. For reference to people, he reminds me a lot of the Rogers kid at Pepperell. He's kind of short, stocky. He runs the ball really hard. You've got to gang tackle him. He doesn't go down easy on one-on-one, so that's been a point of emphasis this week. They got 2 really good linemen, Michael Finley and then Peyton Gunnels, number 59 and 55. They stand out on film. They're hard-nosed, tough kids. And then a couple of skill guys that play safety and play wide out. Number 10, Ethan Peugeot, and then number 11, Chase Perry. And both those guys started for them last year, so they're returning starters on both sides of the ball. On defense, they're going to be in a 4-3 defense. You'll see them a little bit sometimes in a 4-2, but they're going to play mostly cover 3. And in different yardage situations, they may get in an odd 3-4 type look and play some too high cover 2 look. So, we got limited film on them. We saw them last Saturday when we went and watched them play Lovett. So, when you get first games like this, you don't have a ton of film, you've got to be really simple. You know, you don't want to over game plan. You don't want to give the kids paralysis by analysis. We want to keep it simple, keep the game plan, very, very, very minimal. And that way we can go out and play fast and let the kids execute what we've been working on all summer.
Well, I look at the clock and we're running out of time here, so we've only got time for another question or two. But, moving to the next question, what has been your message with your team? You kind of touched on that a little bit, of kind of, taking care of yourselves and controlling what you can control and things of that nature. But what's been the message to the team this week as far as what the Tigers need to do to get the outcome that you desire at the end of the game Friday night?
I gave since the scrimmage 2 weeks ago, I've given the team 4 points of emphasis that I want to see them basically fulfill out and let's get better at. Number one, let's get better at ball security. It's a premium in high school football. You can't score points. You can't control the ball game. You can't keep the other team's offense off the field unless you have the football. So the 3 turnovers in the scrimmage game is totally unacceptable. We've been working on that. It is getting better. It's not where it needs to be, but that's the first point of emphasis. The second one coming out of there is pad level. Okay, at Darlington, I tell the kids all the time that, I ask them, 2 guys hit, blocking and tackling, which guy's going to win? And they're going to tell me the low man's going to win. So at Darlington, we understand the importance of leverage, and in blocking and tackling, we should never lose pad level if we understand that concept. So our pads underneath their pads, and we got an opportunity to win or knock folks back when we block and tackle. So pad level has been the second. The third was eliminate mental mistakes. We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot. We don't want to be our own worst enemy. We want to eliminate mental mistakes. And so that we do that through practice and through film study and to make sure we know exactly what we do on each call, offensive and defensively. So eliminate mental mistakes. And then the last thing is, I won't say exactly what I tell the team, but they've got to play extremely hard, okay? And they've got to play extremely physical. Those 2 things. That's where we're going to make our mark. We got to play extremely hard, and we got to play extremely physical. So those 4 things right there: take care of the football, play extremely hard, play physical, never lose pad level, and let's eliminate mental mistakes. And I feel like we've made strides toward doing that, and hopefully on Friday it'll show.
Well, Coach, I will have to ask you this a little off topic as we get ready to wrap up, but obviously this is the first show of the year. Coming up next week, we'll be talking about a game under your belt. So are we going to be talking about the Black Shirt Awards again this year? Will we need to hang up the jersey?
Yeah, the black shirts will be in full effect. We'll give a scout simulation team O&D for this week. We've had a lot of guys that have contributed in helping us give that Mount Vernon simulation look. We'll give a black shirt for offense, defense, and special teams. And remember, it's not always the guy that gets his name in the newspaper or score the touchdowns. It's the guy that's doing his job and playing his position the best within the game plan and the scheme of the game. So it'll be good to see who steps up and gets that award. Hopefully we're talking about a bunch of kids that can potentially win that thing. So that would be good for the Tigers if that's the case.
Looking forward to that. And basically just have 2 more questions for you as we get ready to wrap up the show here. Well, really just one. But obviously you get the first couple of games at home this year. And so, getting ready on Friday night, you're going to watch the Tigers run through, the big Tiger head and all that kind of stuff and get out on the field. I know that's got to give you goosebumps, get you fired up for this. But what does it mean to get those first couple of games at home? How fired up are you about this, Coach?
Well, just this weekend, school starts next week for Darlington, but the dorms open this weekend, so the dorm students are moving in, already starting today. They're moving in, and so we're going to have a big crowd there. It's going to be electric. I mean, it's going to be a great way to start off the school year, there at Darlington and Lakeside. And I think there's a certain amount of little buzz about this team to see, how good can we get? And so we've just been working as hard as we can every day at practice. We've been trying to just be great at fundamentals and again, just perfect our skills. And hopefully we can have a good showing on Friday. I think our team will be ready to play, and I think we'll play really hard, and I think we'll represent the Darlington community really well.
Well, we're excited about it, man. And, of course, you can listen to coverage on WLAQ. Also, they'll have the live stream from the Darlington School YouTube channels and social media platforms. It's all here, man. The football season is here. Well, I'd just like to take an opportunity to thank you for agreeing to do this show again this year. We really enjoyed it last year, thought it was a great addition to the coverage, and we appreciate you being willing to come out to the station and do this with us. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Coach.
Yeah, it's real fun. And, anytime we can talk about Darlington Tigers football, I'm willing to do that with anybody. And obviously to be able to highlight some kids and show the hard work they've put in getting up to this point, it's really special to be able to do that. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
And we just got a Go Tigers from one of the parents and Tiger royalty there. Jason Payne chimed in just a little bit ago and said Go Tigers. So,
that's it.
Yeah. Well, good deal, man. Thanks for your time. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. This has been the first edition of the Coach Grove Show. Hope you enjoyed it, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in. And we're going to get out of here. And thanks again, Coach. Appreciate you, man.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Coach Groves Show. We invite you to join us again next week as we discuss all things Darlington football with head coach Wayne Groves. Go Tigers!